All right. Thank you so much for joining us on the bright side. We're talking signaling molecules and how they relate to health and nutrition. Nutrition is like a raw material. Nutrition is the building blocks. Vitamins, minerals, proteins, carbohydrates. These are the clay from which the sculpture of the human body is made. Signaling molecules are more specialized than nutrients. Signaling molecules are more refined. They're a finely carved out piece of sculpture. Nutritional supplements or nutritional elements are like the raw material. They're like the clay. Signaling molecules are finely carved out of the clay, and you can think of signaling molecules as little doorbells. They ring the doorbell on a cell to turn on the activities, all of the various activities that a cell performs. Doorbells are obviously secondary to nutrition. Doorbells are secondary to the mighty 90 essential nutrients in the sense that they're made up of the mighty 90 essential nutrients. That's not to say that these signaling molecules, these doorbells, these on-off switches are not significant. They are. They're very significant. In fact, most health challenges, most diseases have some kind of connection to either defects or problems of some sort of related to signaling molecules. Signaling molecules, doorbells, and their relationship to cells are what biology and biological health is really all about. A cell is like a 3D printing machine. I love that metaphor. If you don't know what a 3D printing machine is, it's just a regular old printer, except instead of printing paper, it prints things. It prints screws and it prints parts. You can build a car. In fact, there are cars that have been built out of parts that came out of 3D printing machines. In the future, very near future, not far away, I'm talking within 5 years or so, you're going to be printing kidneys. They're already doing it in prototype, printing biological organs, but they're going to be printing it routinely, printing skin for burn victims, printing food even. This is all within the next few years. Well, the life system, the biological force, the divine force, whatever you want to call it, has figured out 3D printing billions of years ago, 3.5 billion years ago to be exact, and that's when the first cells started to appear. Cells are biological versions of 3D printing machines. Cells print fiber molecules. Cells print various globular molecules. Fiber molecules give the body structure, excuse me, and they come out of cells like a 3D printing machine will print a screw or a widget or anything else. Cells will also print gooey molecules that make chemistry happen in 3D printing style. If you're sick, you got a 3D printing machine screw up. Pretty much that's it. Remember how, we always say all disease is cell disease, right? Well, what does that mean? All disease is cell disease means all disease is a 3D printing machine screw up. All disease is a dysfunction, a breakdown of our 3D printing machines. And at the core, what makes a 3D printing machine screw up? You got nutritional deficiencies, you got suffocation or a lack of oxygen, and you got toxicity. That's pretty much it, you guys. Toxicity, nutritional deficiency, and suffocation. And one of the ways nutritional deficiency and suffocation and toxicity show up is as a breakdown or as a deficiency or some kind of problem with signaling molecules. Hormones are a classic example of signaling molecules. Nothing happens in the cell without hormone signaling. I get a kick out of people who talk about hormonal acne or hormonal issues, or they say my hormones are messed up. What does that really mean? It doesn't mean anything, because everything's hormones. Of course, hormonal acne is all acne. There's no such thing as acne without a hormonal involvement. Everything involves hormones. Everything involves signaling. Everything involves doorbells ringing or doorbells being pressed on the outside of a cell. So everything is hormonal. Nothing happens without hormones interacting on some level with the cell, typically the outside part of the cell membrane, which of course means the cell membrane has to be healthy too. If you got a hormonal problem or a signaling problem, first thing you want to do is work on the cell membrane. This is the fallacy of hormone replacement therapy. If the membranes, which are the place where the hormones interact with the 3D printing machine, are messed up, it doesn't matter how many hormones you take from a pharmaceutical, in a pharmaceutical sense, even if it's bioidentical, whatever that means. If your cell membranes are messed up, you're not going to do yourself any good, and you could probably do yourself a lot of harm by just getting on a hormone replacement therapy program. Healthy fats, your ultimate EFAs, very important for membrane health, thus very important for hormone health. Vitamin E, very important for membrane health, thus very important for hormone health and signaling health. Glutamine and glutathione and NAC and sulfur, all of these are super important. Selenium, All of these are super, super, super important for keeping cell membranes healthy, making your hormones work better. If you are a woman and you're going through menopause and some boneheaded doctor is trying to get you to take a Premarin or whatever the latest estrogen replacement therapy drug is, or some well-meaning naturopath is suggesting hormone replacement therapy, you'd be much better off focusing on the health of your cell membranes, which are, of course, made of fats, which means focusing on fat metabolism, fat processing, how you process fats through the digestive system, using fatty nutrients like vitamin E and your ultimate essential fatty acids, glutamine, etc. Of course, focusing on fat absorption, the gallbladder, the liver, the pancreas, the stomach, the intestine, all of these play a role in fat absorption. Thus, all of these play a role in the health of cell membranes. Thus, all of these play a very, very important role in the health of hormones and the way the body responds to hormones. Hormones can have relatively long-acting effects, or they can have instantaneous effects. The hormones most of us talk about, your estrogens and testosterones and cortisol and insulin, these are more long-acting hormones. And then you have your short-acting hormones, quick-acting hormones. Those are the ones we've been talking about for the last couple of days, prostaglandins, a few other ones with hard-to-pronounce names. And then there's some important nutrients, minerals really, that also have hormone-like effects in the sense that they affect signaling. They act like doorbells. I'll tell you what I mean when we come back from our break. I'm Pharmacist Ben. You're listening to The Bright Side. 855-660-4261 is our number. We'll be back right after this. Don't go away. Okay, we do have a couple lines open at 855-660-4261. We'll get your calls here in our next segment. Hormones, as we said before we went to our break, are signaling molecules. They interact with the outside part of a cell. Thus, the outside part of a cell, the so-called membrane, is just as important, if not more important, than hormones when it comes to inducing or promoting or supporting the activity, the doorbell ringing activity that hormones have on our 3D printing machine cells. That's why I have such a problem with folks who are using hormone replacement therapy, or not with the folks using it, but doctors or healthcare professionals suggesting hormone replacement therapy before you work on fat metabolism or nutrients that help protect the outside part, the fatty part of a cell. Glutamine, ultimate EFAs, vitamin E, selenium, the ultimate selenium, sulfur. These are all very, very important for supporting cell membrane health. There's several kinds of hormones. You've got long-acting hormones. Those are the ones we talk about most of the time. You've got shorter-acting hormones. And then you have ultra-short-acting hormones. The ultra-short-acting hormones work instantly. And drug companies love these ultra-short-acting hormones because they can control the effects of the body really, really quickly and rapidly. Unfortunately, by modifying these effects, you also cause toxicities, and these types of drugs tend to be very toxic, even though we don't think of them that way. Aspirin, Tylenol, Motrin, these are some among the more toxic drugs that we use, in the sense that a lot of deaths and a lot of wounding, a lot of emergency room visits are caused by these kinds of drugs. Why? Because they affect these rapid-acting hormones, the prostaglandins, other ones called leukotrienes, thromboxanes. You don't need to know the terms, the fancy names for these signaling molecules. Just know that they're very important. They're where the aspirins and Tylenols and Motrins of the world have their effect, and they all are derived from, or mostly derived from, essential fatty acids. We spent a lot of time talking about prostaglandins, and you could think of prostaglandins as a type of essential fatty acids, and this is just another reason why it is not optional. If you want to be healthy, it's not optional to get yourself on the ultimate EFAs or the ultimate EFA plus. I like the ultimate EFA plus a little better. 9 a day is a good place to be. You can take 18 a day and make sure that you're absorbing your fats. If you have a gallbladder taken out, or you've had a hysterectomy, or any kind of fat malabsorption issues, and make no mistake about it, if you had a gallbladder out or you had a hysterectomy, you're going to have an issue absorbing fats. But even if you have your gallbladder, even if you have your female reproductive organs, even if you're not postmenopausal or going through menopause, you may still have a fat malabsorption issue. EFA deficiency means prostaglandin deficiency. If you're not absorbing your EFAs, you're probably not going to be making prostaglandins effectively, and prostaglandin deficiency is quite common, and it's associated with autoimmune diseases, it's associated with skin diseases, it's associated with cancer, it's associated with heart disease. These are all reasons why you want to be using your essential fatty acids, your ultimate EFAs. The second type of signaling molecule is a gas, a vapor. This is so cool. Almost always we're talking about chemicals when we talk about nutrients and we talk about biochemistry. But it turns out there's actually a vapor or a gas that has hormonal effects. It's an activating gas. It comes from the amino acid arginine. It's like a mist that comes out of a cell. A mist gets squirted out of a cell, and this mist spreads itself around all the cells in the vicinity and imparts some kind of effect, usually some kind of opening or closing effect, as most hormones do. It's a mist hormone, a vapor hormone, a gaseous hormone. And it comes from arginine, which, like essential fatty acids, is one of those nutrients that many folks don't get enough of. Deficiencies in arginine are not uncommon, and that means deficiencies in this magical vapor signaling molecule, this gas signaling molecule, like deficiencies in prostaglandins, are likely. And like deficiencies in prostaglandins, they're associated with many health issues, including heart disease, especially heart disease. And the health of the immune system, because this gas not only is a signaling molecule, but it also kills things. It kills microbes, it kills pathogens, it kills toxins. We'll be talking about this incredibly important and fascinating gaseous signaling molecule. It's also an immune system supporting molecule, and we'll be talking about why you want to use arginine as a supplement, or at least eat arginine-containing foods to make sure that you're producing enough of this gaseous vapor signaling molecule. One of the more interesting signaling molecules is the element we've been talking about for the last couple of Brightside episodes, and that is zinc, the mineral zinc. I love zinc. Throughout human history, zinc has played an incredibly vital and important role in the development of civilization. The Chinese, thousands of years ago, maybe as far as 5,000 years ago, 6,000 years ago, used zinc ores to create brass, metal called brass. The Greeks and Romans really got into brass making somewhere around 100 BC or so. For millennia, before silver and gold became popular, before silver and gold came in from the post-Columbus New World America in the post-15th century or post-16th century, brass was considered to be the most precious of metals, or among the most precious of metals, and churches and castles were typically adorned with brass totems and various kinds of brass elements. By the 14th century, 15th century or so, late 1400s, early 1500s perhaps, zinc had been isolated from its ore form. Interestingly, zinc is found with copper in ores in the ground. It's also found with copper in the body. And there's a very, very important relationship between zinc and copper, which we'll be talking about here in the next couple of days. In the ground, in the earth, zinc and copper are also found together. And by the 14th or 15th century, certainly by the 16th and 17th century, there were factories that were starting to appear that were specially designed to extract zinc and separate zinc from its copper ores. How interesting is it that an element, zinc, which is really a metal, has so many roles to play in the body? We have this metallic nature to us. And one of the most important characteristics and qualities of metals is they conduct electricity. Zinc acts like a battery. Zinc has an electrifying property, and it activates dozens, hundreds perhaps, of different enzymes in the body via its electrical properties. And this is not surprising once one understands the electrical properties of metallic zinc. Zinc is actually a component of many high-tech batteries. All right, I'm Pharmacist Ben. You're listening to The Bright Side. We're coming back with your phone calls. 855-660-4261 is our number. You're listening to The Bright Side on the Genesis Communication Network. Okay, we're going to talk about zinc as a signaling molecule. We're going to talk about zinc as a part of our DNA. That's right, zinc is a part of our genetics. There are proteins located in the human genome that are initiated or activated by zinc, so-called zinc fingers. We'll talk all about that on our next Bright Side episode, and then we'll continue talking about more signaling molecules. Let's see, we'll probably cover a little bit about gluten intolerance and talk about zinc as an antidepressant. Did you know that? Zinc has got antidepressant properties. It's a great mental health nutrient. And on top of all of the great things that zinc is associated with in the body, immune system health and skin health and liver health and brain health and digestive health and genetic health, and the importance of zinc for building muscle and the importance of zinc for the reproductive system. On top of all of that, zinc deficiency is one of the most common deficiencies in the world, and zinc-depleted soils are an enormously significant problem. In fact, zinc-depleted soils are among the most important of all of the mineral deficiencies, soil mineral deficiencies. And actually, next week we'll be talking to a PhD geologist who's going to talk about nutritional deficiencies and mineral deficiencies due to soil depletion. That's all coming up in the next coming days on the bright side. Time to hit our phones now. 855-660-4261 is our number. Let's go to Brooklyn, New York, and welcome Sherly to the bright side. What's up, Sherly? How you doing?
Hello?
Sherly, turn your radio off.
Oh, okay. All right.
All right. What's going on? How can we help you, Sherly?
Yes. Maybe you can. Let me tell you what's going on now. This is my husband now.
Okay.
And he's been having pains for the last, say, 3-4 months. But now they've just narrowed it down now. They're believing for two things now. One of them, they're looking at, they're giving him the EMG test on Monday to prove if it's going to be ALS or Mona, News Growth, something. I can't even pronounce it.
Does it matter? Do you think it really matters if your husband's in pain, if it's ALS or ABC or XYZ or DEF or QRs? Does it matter? No. It only matters to bill your husband and to bill his insurance companies. That's the only reason it matters. Here's the deal. Pain is your body screaming at you, or in your case, your husband's body screaming at him. Help me. Something's whacked out here. So all we got to do is figure out what's going on. Number one, something is getting into, whenever you have pain in the body, whether it's nerve pain or muscle pain or
nerve.
Okay, nerve pain. You're dealing
nerve
with
and muscle.
Okay, here's the deal, ma'am. Aside from mechanical trauma, when you fall and hurt yourself or get hit by a bus or whatever, whenever you have internal pain, biochemistry kind of pain, not mechanical pain or trauma pain, you're dealing with inflammation, something that's getting into the body that's initiating an inflammatory response. Inflammation is a vague word, and unless you're a chemist, you're not going to really know what it means. But what you can understand is inflammation is a defensive response. The body is defending itself. And part of this defensive response is to wall off a bad guy, wall off something that has gotten into the body that shouldn't be into the body, or to wall off damage that is following something that has gotten into the body that shouldn't get into the body. So here's what you got to do when you're dealing with chronic pain or any kind of unexplained pain that's not due to a mechanical trauma. You got to figure out what is getting inside the sacred space of the body that the body doesn't like, that the body's complaining about. This simplifies everything. You don't need a doctor for this, and you don't need a test. You don't need to see if you have ALS or whatever else they're testing for. You don't need to know about that. What you need to know is hang on, Sherly. Hang on. You need to know what is getting into the body that shouldn't be in the body, period. It's as simple as that. Now, I did a talk yesterday, and some guy was I looked at him, I was talking to him, I thought he had a stroke. He was badly degraded. He was probably in his 40s or 50s. And I told him that. I said, look, something is getting into your body that shouldn't. And he wanted to know, well, my doctor told me it was calcification. Okay? And when I told him that it has nothing to do with calcification from a primary standpoint, it has to do with something attacking your body, he didn't want to hear about it. Because we are resistant to the simplicity of health and healing. We are resistant to how easy it is to reverse damage. We are resistant to how easy it is to eliminate pain. Listen, I'm telling you, Sherly, and everybody out there listening, if you have some kind of pain in the body that's not due to a mechanical trauma, it's a defensive response. Something has gotten into the body that shouldn't be in the body. Something is inside, has breached the barriers, has breached the defenses, and you got to figure out what that is. That's the first step, okay? The second step is, how do you figure out what it is? Well, where can something get into the body? How can something get into the sacred space of the body? Well, you can inject it through the skin and it go right into the blood. Assuming he's not doing that, we can cross that off the list. Now, technically you can breathe something in, but because the respiratory tract is so well protected and he doesn't have any asthma, any respiratory problems, probably that's not it. So then there's the third way that everything gets into the body, and that's through food. Now, Sherly, please turn your radio off, Sherly. This is very annoying.
Yes, I'm gonna turn it off now.
Okay, turn it off. Okay.
Turn it off. Yes.
Sherly, I'm trying to help you here. I can't.
Yes, good.
I can't do it if we have an echo.
I'm sorry. Yes.
Okay, you got it? Okay, listen, Sherly, this is so easy. How old is your husband?
71.
Okay. Now, are you going to tell me on the phone here in front of millions of listeners, or at least hundreds, or maybe thousands, are you going to tell me that your 71-year-old husband doesn't have any other symptoms, nothing at all? All he has is a little pain. There's nothing else going wrong. Of course not. Of course he does. I'm not psychic, Ben. This is just how it happens. The body breaks down, and your boneheaded doctors are going to steal your money. They're not going to steal yours because your insurance company will pay for it. They'll steal all our monies by testing for ALS. How idiotic and rude and offensive to humanity. I wish I could talk to your doctors, but I can't. So pass the message on them. Tell them it's rude. What they need to be doing is figuring out what is getting into your husband's body inappropriately that's causing this breakdown response, and it's almost always going to be food. Has he had food problems or digestive problems or food intolerances or food allergies? I know he has, but do you know if he has?
No, I don't know. We don't know that. But what we do know is that in the last 4 or 5 weeks, he totally lost the nerve, the loop.
Forget it. I'm trying to help you. I don't want...
The left hand.
It doesn't matter. It's going to get worse. He's going to lose it in the right hand next too. He's going to lose it in his feet and his legs and everything else. It doesn't matter how he's falling apart. It matters that he's falling apart. So I don't want to get all freaked out and upset because I'm starting to get a little out of control here. So here's what you need to do, Sherly. Here's what you need to do. Here's what you need to do. Focus on the digestive system. We need to patch up his gut. Hang on, I'll finish up when we come back from our break. All right, I'm Pharmacist Ben. You're listening to The Bright Side. I really care about you guys. That's why I get so freaked out and upset. Health and healing and wellness are easy. They're simple. But you gotta take the ball into your own court. You gotta grab the bull by the horns. And it starts off with the digestive system. Hang tight. We'll finish up when we come back. Okay, we are back talking to Sherly in Brooklyn about pain for her husband, her 71-year-old husband. And Sherly, I'm going to go quick because it's so easy. Okay, this is such an easy thing. First of all, he's 71 years old. He's got lots of problems. It's not just, it's not just the pain that you're calling in for. There's other things going on. So you got to start where you can start, which is with the digestive system always. Get yourself a little notebook and keep track of all of the foods that your husband eats, and then jot down the foods he's eating and then how he feels an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, 8 hours later. I have diarrhea, I got bloating, I got gas, I got cramping, whatever. Link the problems to foods and then eliminate those foods. That's step number one. After we eat a meal, our inflammatory system is sparked to activity, no matter what that meal is, even if it's spinach. But if it's bread or it's pasta or if it's rice or it's potatoes or it's any kind of any kind of food really, you're going to end up with what's called postprandial inflammation. This is why all pain and inflammatory inflammation is reduced when you fast. Listen up, guys. When you fast, pain and inflammation are reduced because food is one of the biggest attacks that occurs in the body. I'm not saying you don't ever want to eat, but you want to be careful with food and you want to practice fasting. That's step number one. Get them on the Biolumin Nightly Essence. Number two, 3 capsules in the morning, 3 capsules at night. Get them on the Z Radical. Again, 3 capsules in the morning. Fucoid Z, 3 capsules in the morning, 3 capsules at night. Have him use the Ultimate Enzymes after all his meals and have him throw in a couple Ultimate Enzymes in the middle of the day on an empty stomach, and then put them on the Healthy Start Pack. Now, there's many more things you could do, but I'm guaranteeing you, Sherly, with 100% certitude, if you do what I just told you, and that includes the Food Diary, the Biolumin Nightly Essence, the Fucoid Z, the Healthy Start Pack, I think that was all I said. Oh, the Ultimate Enzymes. I guarantee you with 100% certitude he's going to start to notice relief from his pain. And to the extent, as long as he keeps up the program, the protocol, the more pain relief he's going to have and the more healing that's going to occur. Alternatively, you can go to your boneheaded doctor. He'll test you. He'll run you through the gamut. He'll decide whether you have ALS or some other condition, and then he'll give you prednisone, or your husband prednisone, to shut down his immune system. My dear, it's your choice, and thank you so much for calling, and God bless you. Good luck with everything. That's how simple it is, you guys. That's how simple health and wellness are. And it's not a doctor issue. And any doctor who purports or pretends to be your friend or to be your helper or to be your assistant is either misguided or he's stealing. And it's just not fair. And I'm sorry I'm getting all freaked out and upset about this, but it just makes me angry. I'm trying to help you. The people like myself and Dr. Wallach and Dr. Glidden, we're trying to help. We're trying to make a difference. And we got to go against this boneheaded medical model that insists on drugging us and cutting us and diagnosing us when all we really need to do is figure out what the heck is getting into our body through our own lifestyle choices, correcting our digestive system, correcting the health of our digestive system, or stabilizing the health of our digestive system, making sure our blood sugar system is working correctly, deep breathing, relaxing. It's as simple as that. All right, Debbie in Florida, welcome to The Bright Side. What's up? Calm me down a little bit, Debbie. Tell me something nice.
That's okay. You're coming out with some face creams, aren't you?
Yes. Well, not quite creams. Creams are technically emulsions, and an emulsion is a blend, a fancy way of saying oil and water and wax. Oil and water and emulsifying agent, I should say. Oil, water, and emulsifying agent is what most creams are. And the reason most people love the skincare business, I'm talking about business people, bookkeepers, they're the worst. Bookkeepers. If your skincare company is run by a bookkeeper or an accountant, that's a skincare company that you don't want to participate with, because bookkeepers and accountants are interested. I have an accountant. I love my accountant, by the way. They're interested in the bottom line. And when it comes to healthcare or skincare, which should be healthcare, you don't want a company that's more interested in the bottom line than are interested in you. And skincare companies that are run by bookkeepers are just that. So emulsions and face creams are water and oil and emulsifying agents. And 80 to 90% of a face cream is water. So when I come up with my skincare products, they're going to be real products. They're not going to have 80 to 90% water. They're probably not going to have any water in them. They're all going to be active ingredients, and they're going to be about skin health, not about skin care. In fact, that's my new tagline. That's going to be my tagline, skin health and not skin care. To answer your question, yes, I am coming out of the line. And you know what I'm calling it, Debbie? Let me tell you what I'm calling it, because I'm so sick of the crap that's in the skincare business, and there's a lot of crap in the skincare business. It's a very predatory business, unfortunately. You know what I'm calling my new company, my new skincare business? I'm calling it The Truth, because that's what it's about, the truth. It's about honesty, it's about integrity, and it's about really making a difference on your skin. So keep looking for it, because it should be out here in a couple of weeks. Meantime, why don't you do this, Debbie? Send me an email, ben@ksco.com, and I'll send you a couple preview samples, just for being so sweet to call. Did you have a question?
Thank you so much.
Did you have a question or anything?
Nope, that was it. I was wondering when it was coming out.
It should be out in a couple of weeks. Send me and you'll hear about it. It'll be all over GCN, hopefully. Send me an email, ben@ksco.com. Put your address in there, and I'll send you a couple of prototypical samples.
Thank you so much.
Preview samples. Thank you. Thank you for calling. Okay, let's go to Vanessa, who's been holding on for a long time. What's up, Vanessa? Welcome to the bright side.
Hi. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. I'm about to go jog, but I need to talk to you about this.
Okay.
I think I've got a thyroid problem. I had a chiropractor. I think he's a naturopath as well, but he noticed I have rough heels, and I run. Right now I'm running like a total of 12 miles every week, sometimes 15 or 16. I eat pretty well. In order to lose weight, I have to be extremely strict on my diet and exercise.
Sounds like you do have. I don't mean to cut you off, but I got a couple more calls I want to get to. It does sound like you do have a thyroid problem, but you know what? It's typical to have a thyroid problem. We all have thyroid problems after, say, the age of 30 or 40, just because of how we live our lives. So just to say you're hypothyroid or have a thyroid problem, that doesn't help matters. And taking iodine is not the solution to a thyroid problem, and taking thyroid hormone is not the solution to a thyroid problem. The thyroid is a regulatory gland. That means it regulates all of the chemistry in the body, all of it. All of it. Every single thing that happens in the body depends on thyroid hormone. So if you have dry skin anywhere in the body, the chances are pretty good that you got a thyroid problem, especially if you're older. If you have any health issue, the chances are pretty good that you're having an associated thyroid problem. In fact, it's pretty much impossible to have a chronic degenerative health problem without being hypothyroid. So all health issues, pretty much all of them are going to have a hypothyroid component. So what do? Number one, the most intimate link to the thyroid is the adrenal glands, which is your stress glands. So you want to regard hypothyroidism as a sign that you're under some kind of duress, long-term stress, long-term duress. That covers about 320 million Americans, including babies. Well, I'm exaggerating, but certainly most adults are going to be dealing with some kind of adrenal duress. Do you have problems sleeping at night or insomnia? Or do you wake up in the middle of the night, anything like that? Tired in the morning when you wake up after a good night's sleep? You feel like you're tired, but you can't sleep at night? Well, I don't want to know but. No buts. No buts. That's a yes or no. Yes or no?
Yes.
Okay. That's a sign. Okay. That's a sign that the adrenal glands are pooped out. And secondary to that, the thyroid will start to slow down. After the adrenal glands are cranking and making cortisol go out, and your body's all jittery and you can't sleep and you have all the signs of adrenal excess, eventually the thyroid will slow down. So the first thing we need to do is calm the body down. Deep breathing is your best friend for hypothyroidism. Slow, deep breathing. Sit on the couch, slow, deep breathing. That's number one. Number two, make sure you're doing all your adrenal nutrients. Vitamin C is the king adrenal vitamin, and zinc is the king adrenal mineral. So get yourself on the Beyond Tangy Tangerine, which is a wonderful source of vitamin C. In fact, do the whole Healthy Start Pack if you're not doing it. And then throw in 50 milligrams of zinc. If you can get vitamin B12 shots, B12 is very important for the adrenal glands. Use some B12 shots. And then also the B complex is in the Beyond Tangy Tangerine. Also very important for the adrenal glands is salt. So if you're on a low salt diet or you're trying to stay away from salt, that can present a burden to the adrenal glands. Sipping on Celtic sea salt water, take a teaspoon or half a teaspoon of Celtic sea salt, put it in a glass of water, and sip on it until it doesn't taste good anymore. That's another great adrenal strategy. Then you want to make sure that your digestive system is operating pristinely. One of the biggest causes, or one of the most important causes of hypothyroidism, in addition to adrenal stress, is Hashimoto's thyroid, which is an autoimmune disease, and that implies some kind of digestive impairment. If you're constipated, or you have gas, or you're bloated, or you have rashes, or any kind of unexplained immune conditions, chances are pretty good you're reacting to a food, and that can also cause hypothyroidism via the autoimmune connection. So do all the food stuff, especially probiotics, especially the Biolumin Nightly Essence. I would also be using the Z Radical in addition to the Biolumin Nightly Essence. Great for the immune system and great for the digestive system. And last, but most certainly not least, make sure you're using the Healthy Start Pack. So Vanessa, focus on adrenal health. Relax the body. Make sure you're deep breathing. Use salt, Celtic sea salt. Get on zinc 50 milligrams a day. And vitamin C, vitamin B12 shots may be helpful. And also the Biolumin Nightly Essence and Z Radical. And look for food intolerances or food allergies. You notice I didn't say anything about iodine, you guys. Hypothyroidism needs to be addressed as an adrenal issue and a digestive issue largely. All right, that's all the time we have for today. Hope we see you in Tulsa next Monday, October 27th. I'm Pharmacist Ben. Have yourselves a spectacular, wonderful day. We'll talk to y'all later, folks. Bye for now.